Scared me for a second. Like, don't hit me.
That word is out with it. Stay frank.
Yeah, it wasn't working.
I'm good whenever you are.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the work session of Northfield City Council, September 6th of 2022. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 in the Press of Atlantic City on January 8th of this year. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Oh, thank you.
Roll call, Mrs. Bucci? Here. Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
Mr. President?
Thank you. I guess the first thing on our agenda is a request for hardship exception for Fairbanks Avenue, block 49, lot 5, 507 Fairbanks Avenue.
Yeah, that's the next thing.
Works. Oh, that's all. I got it. We'll table that. Here's a work session, John. Thank you, everyone. Committee reports, Councilman Deweese.
Oh, all right. A couple of things. This is very loud. The purchase order has been cut to repair replace the roof at the snack bar, snack bar. Veterans Roofing Company got the job, the bill of $69.99. That was the cheapest of the 3 bids. If their project is probably pushed off, not probably, will be pushed off until next meeting. The company that we are going to hire has not provided the proper documentation for the CFO, so we have to push that off until the next meeting. That's all going on.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Knox.
Quiet month on the planning board. Otherwise, inspections look to be about the same as last year. They're not really up or down. They're about even. And that's really all I have to report.
Councilman Notaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing really to report, but as we all know, we had some grave tragedies over the past week, and my heart goes out to the families of the Skull family and the Nuttall family. Doreen Nuttall was also a staple of our town as well. Very active in the PTO, the Mothers League, community school, and my heart goes out to both families. Also, I just wanted to recognize we have on the agenda tonight, we have the retirement of Lieutenant Eric Dettinger at his 26 years. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Lees.
The August EMS report. Councilman Notaro, Mary, and the chiefs of police and fire department met with the new EMS interim supervisor, which most likely will be the new supervisor. They had some staffing changes, and he provided me with a quick list from the August calls for service. It looks like that they were dispatched 115 times, and they transported 77 of the 115 calls that they were on. Their average shoot time, which is the time that they leave the building, get the ambulance and respond, is 1 minute and 3 seconds. And their average time to an ambulance call is 5.87 minutes. Looks like they had 16 times that EMS came into our town, and they didn't report how many times they went out of town. Pretty much all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Statement regarding the Skull and the Nuttall family. Our heart goes out to that. I also want to extend that to our police department.
And, certainly as much as families are dealing with this, the police department has to deal with that. Chief Newman spoke yesterday at the funeral and did a nice job, as did the other officers who spoke at the service yesterday. So I want to commend them in a difficult time in dealing with this and extend our best to the police department as well for getting through this tragedy. And our prayers are with you and yours as well, Chief. All I have, well, Northfield Community School open today. So obviously we want to encourage everyone to be mindful of that there are children going to be on the roads and on the sidewalks and the bike paths. So hopefully people are operating with caution now that school is back in session. And as for shared services, we have been talking about dispatch. So just a quick update, Ocean City has reached out to us. They're in the process of putting a proposal together. We still have to meet with them. So they are working to put something together. Councilman Leeds and I have to make arrangements to meet with their chief and kind of go through their proposal. We don't have it yet, so I just want to let you know that it is some forthcoming in hopefully by the end of September. They'll have something, and maybe the next meeting we can talk about it. Maybe we'll have something, but they are putting a proposal together.
Is Ocean City willing to let Lottie or Hatcher express any interest?
I mean, we put feelers out to other communities, but they're the ones that we've sat down with and actually had some firm conversations with. I know that Councilman Leeds has reached out to a couple of other places. Not everyone can handle or take it on. But Ocean City certainly is stepping up and moving forward and going to offer us something. So we hope to have more information within the month.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Councilwoman Bucci?
I'd also like to extend my condolences to the Nuttall family for the loss of Doreen. I would like to extend my condolences to the Skull family. John has been a friend of Dante's since kindergarten. So he's been a big part of our life, and I extend my sincere sympathies to the police department. Chief, you did a great job yesterday. That's a hard thing to do, to speak at something like that. Their library, there's a meeting, my library meeting on Thursday, so I have nothing to report on that. Insurance and safety, I don't have anything to report on that today. Municipal Alliance, our next meeting is on the 7th at 6 o'clock. We have trunk or treat coming up in October, on October 8th from 4 to 7. If anybody's interested, please reach out to Shannon Campbell and she will send you the appropriate paperwork to be involved in that great event. Economic Development Committee, moving right along. We've been meeting at once a month. Last month, Tony Coppola and Tony DePietro from Galloway Township came out and spoke to the group. Galloway's done a great job with economic development and their businesses. And if anybody's ever heard Tony Coppola speak, he's very, I don't know how to explain. He's very enthusiastic and he's just a ball of energy, a very positive person. So they gave a lot of input to us, give some ideas. Michael Grossman from Kensington Furniture has kind of been spearheading that. We're working on the bylaws. Roseanne Tizano, who's the vice president from Republic Bank, she's become involved and a big part of that for us as well. Working on social media for that. And then I did have a quick update on the diocese building, the proposed diocese building on Dolphin Avenue. The engineer met with county planning to walk the site and assess the topography and storm drain situation. They're working on a layout of the building and the drainage issues. They're going to come up with a proposed site plan and share it with the county. And they've also said that once they agreed on the exact boundaries of the land, they're going to commission the ground penetrating radar study of the parcel to ensure that no burials took place there. So hopefully that'll put some people's concerns to rest. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Again, I must reiterate the same, the condolences to the families of Northfield and Skull. And the showing of support by various departments from around Atlantic County, Camden County, Gloucester County, I think I saw out there. So many different police departments came and showed the respect for the passing of Jonathan Skull. In addition, the assistance of the sheriffs, both presence there and I believe that they covered our city well. So our police force could all be in attendance so it was well, it was something nice to see that how the community and the respect from everyone in the area. And still in shock a little bit, but and my committee reports, as you can see on tonight's agenda, our tax collector had resigned and took a position elsewhere, and we have another new tax collector, Laura Cohen. So she'll be starting tomorrow. And that's all I have from my committee. And if we move on to the work session topics, the other agenda topics. I think I already spoke with Ronnie there. We haven't gotten any updates on those two projects. However, we did see that today with a lot of flooding around town that seems like that Route 9 drainage seemed to be working well.
There was some flooding, but there were-
No more than any place else that hasn't had a problem.
I have a feeling that the state have in the fight for that down us.
Okay. So it seems like that one may be resolved. The next, I think we had one other topic we can talk about here is you mentioned about Herbert Avenue.
Yes, as you know, that the New Jersey American Water Company installed the water main down Herbert, all the way to the cul-de-sac, and so the Shepherd Circle and Shepherd Circle, that's the whole area. So I met with the water company, who's not all the paving minutes, and with a portion of the streets that only take, they did not touch, they did not disturb the road. Can't work really paving. So the water company is taking center of perspective is the length of faith from line to a goal. It's a very big section of the road. But that means there are 2,085 square yards of patches that one take. So those sections. So I contacted the contractor and I got like 37,575. If we are able to find the money for this work, then we will have a brand new road from Sheffield. So, I think it's a lot of sense. But if we need to do this in the future, then cost us way more money, and the other thing you need for kind of the whole thing, I think.
And then those streets will then be completed, a full completed paving.
All the real big things, when safety is starting out, there's no inspection piece that we're doing to water helping snakes. So that a lot of safety. By the time we're done, we'll have about 12,500 square meters.
Yeah, for 37,000. Is that cost per square yard about what our current road program is? Cheaper than our road program because they're not mobile? Because all the things.
All this stuff they have to plan.
Okay.
And then you have inspection services, glass services, so it's at least 30% less. But if we decide to do this small section by itself, it would cost us around like 70.
Okay.
More.
All right. And they would be able to do it in October.
If I can get authorization, just to move forward, I can reset
It'd take us,
You guys,
Well-
you can't do that without the funds.
yeah, we're gonna,
That's right.
we want to, if there's availability of funds,
You need to have Dawn certify that.
yeah,
Um,
okay,
she's in Paris.
yes. So
Yes, based on the
based on the-
availability of funds.
pending availability of funds. Is everyone in agreement there? Well, I'll take a straw poll.
I'm in agreement.
Yes.
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 Okay, we're unanimously, if there is availability of funds, we'd like to move forward. So as soon as we can,
I'll send an email to Dawn. but details.
if she, yeah, I mean, she's away on vacation. So if she gets back, when she comes back, she'll be able to respond. Thank you. Next topic is the sign changes, sign ordinance changes. Everyone got that emailed from Carolyn?
I have not had email until today, so I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
Okay. Has everyone gotten a chance to read those? So I guess the main items being temporary signs, that being for a grand opening, as an example. Her suggestion, she suggested that, and I agree, they should be allowed for 90 days, give them a little more time to get going when new business comes in. I think what we had in the past was it's either the day they open or the day they get their mercantile license. So,
And the previous inspector gave 30 days.
yeah, and
That's
it was
what the
30
ordinance
days,
says.
yes.
That's what the ordinance is now.
The ordinance is 30 days from the earlier of those two dates. So the suggestion being 90 days, which I think is a good idea.
And it's just for a grand opening, not for a sale or going out of business.
I think there's other sections for the sales that we did address recently for like the tent sales and things of
Right,
that
right,
nature.
right.
Those I believe were 10 days.
10 days for the tent sale.
Mhm. Yeah, so I would suggest beginning the first day of operations. I mean, I
Get a
don't,
mercantile license and they don't open for 2 more weeks.
That's right.
I would say first day of operations seems,
I do have one question. Just because I don't know. So we had a business on Tilton Road go out of business. And all their signs saying going out of business were posted inside on their windows. So as you go by, you can see it. Does that count as well? Is that considered a sign?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's.
You're not allowed to
different. I
cover
think
it
that's
in
a
your
different
window, it doesn't
ordinance.
count.
That's a
we
different.
have,
Yeah.
I have seen windows, as you point out, and also on the side of the building.
Yeah.
So that's another question.
Yeah, just
You want to
Clarification.
include that also as allowance or
There-
prohibited.
There's another section of the code where it calculates
okay.
how much of
That's
your
where-
window you can have covered. And also signs, say the sign going across the top of the building.
Mhm.
And how much coverage you can have on your facade. You can't just have the entire facade filled with a sign,
Because we-
essentially a sign. It's got to be a little more, it's got to be reduced to a lesser percentage. That's not, yeah, that would be, Other than this-
Because, Mr. President, we do have one business that had a sign, banner sign attached to the side of their building with grand opening since the day they've opened, and it's been well over
A year.
Yeah, that was 2 years.
close to that, yes, grand opening.
grand opening.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. The other thing that I brought.
Well, their
up-
90 days is up.
That's right.
Well, that's the next, I have two questions. Number one is, how can the code enforcement agent, or what mechanism are we going to use to determine when the 90 days is up? We have no permit process, if I understand correctly.
True.
And that should be instituted in some ways, shape, or form, my recommendation. Also, when Councilman Bucci brought up the sign proposals, I asked about, and she didn't understand what I meant to type, the blower ones with the thing that
Oh, I
goes
don't know.
back
No, I
and
don't.
forth.
I
Are we
don't-
gonna allow something like that?
I didn't even address that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, are we gonna allow something like that?
I did,
Because,
none of the changes that I recommended had anything to do with that.
so
No.
that would be considered, if we understand, prohibited. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's already written in there as being prohibited, I didn't write anything
No, I
to
don't,
change.
I
Yeah.
don't know if those types of
I don't
signs,
think
Yeah,
so.
that's not,
I don't even
those
know what
weren't
they-
in any of
I don't
the
even know what
items.
you would call them.
Yeah. I don't think it's in our current
than
ordinance.
box.
Yeah.
It's the
I
only way
call
you
him
can
waving
explain it.
man,
Huh?
waving man.
Yeah, the waving man. Yes, that's cool.
Can you show us what you mean?
All right.
This is on tape. I can't do it again.
Well, then I guess since we don't have a real, any other mechanism to identify when they open, then we should go with what you originally wrote and just
Do the mercantile license plus
90 days from mercantile license.
Yeah.
And,
That was gauged.
Or opening, whichever is first.
and some permit process for those who want to, sale or, whatever. it
Well,
may be.
those are, the sale are separate.
But we don't have any, we don't, Mary, well, we don't have anyone doing the permit process. In other words, just,
When Kensington had their tent sale, what did they have to do?
Sign permitted zoning.
Okay, so
Well,
they-
what
they're-
the
they're-
special sales is zoning.
that's,
Yeah,
A freestanding sign is the construction official. But if you're contemplating a fee for the grand opening sign, he's right. There's no process for that because it doesn't exist.
I don't think we would charge them enough money. I don't think we need to charge them for sign.
well,
for 90.
they're getting, it's on their
Yeah.
mercantile, it's when they buy their,
Right,
it's when they get their
yeah.
mercantile license.
yeah, that's when they get the mercantile, but you said when they put it up.
Well, that's
will be
his way
the
of
first day
gauging it.
one.
No, I think they should have it. I think the only way you're gonna be able to gauge it is do it from the mercantile license and 90 days forward from that. And tell them, like, I know it's that you've changed.
The mercantile license has changed
Right,
now
I know
so
you've
that there's no
changed that.
confusion
So about the signs.
or less confusion.
I'm gonna suggest that there be, and it's, I know, extra work, a little card separate from that, that is, they're given to them saying, these are what you're allowed to do with your sign, some kind of something or other, just some little handout.
But that's
little-
exhaustive. And if we miss one thing
This
that's in
is
the
a sign
code, they're
ordinance.
gonna say, you didn't tell me that. That's why on the mercantile form, there's a link to the code that
It's
says,
tough reading.
here's where you find the
Yeah,
sign
there's too many
rules.
Or
things
then
in our
maybe
sign
just,
ordinance.
or then just something saying,
exhausting.
you're
It is.
repetition, they're normal, right? So if you have maybe a card saying, look, this is the regulations with regards to the signs, in case you have any questions. That way, we're not having people come and complain about it and people not being compliant, right? Because it's just one little extra something.
And where would that be?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little card or something.
And I
like a
will
little-
say-
But when do they get that? Like, so we give
When
them
they
the
get their
mercantile.
mercantile.
When you give them recommendations,
You
they
barcode, you
like, like.
the ordinance?
we could do that, but like.
Yeah.
It's there. I mean, you can look it up.
Well, I will say this in my experience in all my years, many of these individuals plead innocence in terms of not being aware of it. And
Innocence or ignorance?
Ignorance.
I understand that, but when you, as all of you know,
Yeah.
when you're dealing with the public and you have an angry business that says, well, no one ever told me this, and I spent all this money for these signs, and now you're telling me they're no good, and blah, 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 and we said, well, it's in the ordinance, they said, well, I plead in this ignorance, and I know when I'm on a planning board, I always ask an applicant if they're gonna put up any signs, please remember that there is a sign ordinance, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you adhere to it. I do that now. Before it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case, but I've been finding out businesses that were opening it up and saying, well, I didn't know about it. You never told me about this. So
Yeah, but ignorance isn't a defense.
I understand. I hear what you're saying, but we've already.
Doesn't stop them from presenting it.
But that doesn't stop us from enforcing our.
Correct.
Let me say this, I won't cite the business, but I have one business right now that's pleading ignorance and saying, and that they've been open for quite a while, and they have banners on their property, and they refuse to take it down.
But that's a code enforcement issue, whether they.
I understand that, but that's not my responsibility, and it's my understanding that the code enforcement person has already gone there. But it's still up there, and I'm not going to tell
They
them
can
what to
plead
do.
ignorance all they want, that's not gonna win them a court of law.
No.
Mary,
I
Mary,
just-
when they get their lurking.
But then, you know, we talk about trying to work with the businesses and now they're saying, you're not done working with me.
Well, it's not all give.
I understand that, but I'm being the devil's advocate here.
Well, we're trying to work with all businesses. I mean, that is an example of somebody that's gone over, has stepped over the line a little too far and not complied, but
Well,
we have other instances, I think, that happen more often where
On one bad.
where they don't have a, yeah.
I've only just expressed.
The
my-
problems always become the ones that ruin it for everyone else.
Right, and I expressed my frustration that in my experience with, even within the past 6 months, I've had to deal with, not me personally, but with businesses that have been told by the code enforcement agent to take down whatever it may be that's illegal, and a couple months later, it's back up again. And I can cite 3 businesses that have done this at least 2 times after being told to take down their original signs or banners and so forth.
So they issued summonses for it?
I don't know, and it's not my, I
Doesn't sound like
cannot
it, but
tell,
that's what they do.
I can't tell the person, the agent
I'll
to
have
do
a-
that.
Mary, I have a question. When they get their mercantile license, do you hand them back something?
Do I?
No, I'm talking to Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They get
They get a paper license.
Okay. Is there any way to put a QR code? I know there's Earl pre-printed probably what you have. Is there any way we could print like a little card that has the QR code to link to the code? And just hand it to them, like staple it to it, say, because then we're like double saying, look, you've already signed it, you know it's here, but now here's it for your reference.
That could be a welcome.
You have a link, right?
The link's on there, yeah.
I would just give them the link to the current code.
We did that already.
Can you highlight it?
And just say, hey, you know.
Is it
Well,
on
it's-
their
it's a-
license?
it's a
We
link
actually
to
make them
signs.
initial it on the form, on the application that says that they're aware that we told them that this is where the sign rules are. There's a box you have to initial.
It's just a lot for them to read.
The issue is, becomes,
But I think,
Like when you're signing your
You gotta take the
mortgage,
time to
read
do
every
it. I mean, you're
single
starting a
line.
business.
but Carolyn, the issue becomes, there's unfortunately a lot of rules with regard to running a business. And you reminded me about the sign rules, but you didn't remind me about that other one.
Right.
So it becomes difficult when people assume that you're going to tell them every single thing they need to know, and we can't possibly do that. It's too much.
Well, at least we're doing something by changing.
well, I think Councilwoman Bucci, your suggestion of giving them something along with their mercantile that says you are now allowed to have a grand opening sign until, and you write the date right on the card and make it like one of those little inspection stickers, and they can post it on their calendar, and then they know.
Yeah,
They
but
can't
then
plead
you-
ignorance.
You're telling them you can do one thing, and then when they violate the next thing, well, you didn't tell me then. I think that's Mary's.
I see.
Maybe,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
And that's what they say.
Yeah.
The business
Well, you told me I could
is
have a-
responsible
yeah.
to read and review all city ordinances that pertain to operation of businesses, period.
I agree with that. I think a business is charged with the obligation to know how to conduct their business in this city by this city's rules. You know, just like when you drive a car, you're supposed to know the rules.
Right.
You know, so I would just direct them to the code overall. And
Yeah,
leave it
stay
at that.
interested in
If they
that.
violate it, issue tickets.
Issue. Can't say, yeah, that they can't plead ignorance.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just going back to the paving issue, if the certification of funds does come in, that's something you're gonna have to approve by resolution next
Yes.
meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Are we 90 days for mercantile license? Let's get back to what we-
Is there anyone that has objection to changing it to 90 days for mercantile?
I don't have an objection to it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I just, one thing.
Yes, please.
Are
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
it currently says 90 days or the date they open.
Yes,
Are you changing that?
no,
Okay.
no,
because
we
what
backed
happens-
up, we started to
Okay.
change it and then we,
Yeah.
So it's 90 days from the merc.
Or the date they're open, whichever is
whichever
earlier.
is first.
What happens
They
is,
open without a merc?
all the time.
No.
Yes, they do.
Not supposed to, but-
They might.
Oh, they do, okay, so it would only be earlier.
That's another report.
Well, some
Well,
don't,
some
require
don't need it.
mercantile.
Some don't need it,
Yeah,
but,
right,
They
some,
don't get it.
but some don't get it. So you don't want them to be able to say, well, you got a ticket for being open without a mercantile license for 6 months. Now I have it. I can keep my banner up for another 90 days. That's,
Right. Correct.
yeah, you
figure
laugh,
that
you
out.
laugh. Go on. You're a businessman.
All
I
right.
yelled at for a sign before. Oh, yeah.
You probably.
Eggover
consider-
Township.
The next item being the red lettering. Can you elaborate on that as far as what you just? Oh, okay, just the red lettering that could be traffic.
What did I even write?
Certain colors.
Yeah, certain colors, like using red and yellow and green lights, which could interfere with traffic control.
So I don't think they should, here's what my point of that, and I'll give you an example. If you have in a sign that says open and it's red.
Okay.
And it's certain, a setback from the street.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about like a big one that's crossing the whole entire.
Right, okay, yeah, so a
Maybe the
certain
size-
size too.
Maybe the size of this. If it's 100 yards off the road, I don't think it's being obstructed.
You mean something that looks like a traffic light?
No,
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 an
no,
open
Yeah,
sign,
a
No,
red
just
light
an
that says
open.
open.
but it can be red now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure, yeah.
No, not
okay,
a traffic light.
Just suggesting that you'd be able to use red, but as long as it's set
It has-
back,
Yeah, it has to be set back. It can't be, I mean, like,
Is it inside?
yes. Inside their window, like an inside open or on their window.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be, but it would have to not, also you don't want it to face the flow of traffic.
right.
Does anybody have any input on that one? I think if it's at least, what, 25 feet off of the street and not facing traffic,
Most
How
of the
much red are you
businesses that
talking
way.
about?
No bigger than that.
Did you have it in there? I don't think, did you have a size?
No.
no, we can add that in.
outside. We can
Say
add
2
that.
square feet?
You make a suggestion because
No, I don't,
you know more about signs than
I'm
I
not
do.
gonna get in trouble.
You're not gonna get in trouble.
I don't
You're
know.
not the one suggesting it, are
2
you?
square feet is not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about what that is, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That's a little bigger than that.
Yep.
yeah. That's, I don't know,
1
2
foot
square
by 1 foot?
yeah, that's not big.
Any objections? And 25 feet, is that too much? 15
Seems-
feet?
No, 25 seems not enough.
Not enough off of the street? I mean, if it's, and not facing traffic.
You don't want, I mean, again, you don't want people
20.
turning their heads.
25 yards, maybe?
25 yards is different, certainly. 75 feet.
How many businesses
Chief,
do we have that are 75
Since this
feet
one
off?
has an impact on
Some.
traffic flow, is that something that you,
I've never seen my, years of law enforcement, somebody look at an open close sign on the side of the road and run it back.
No, I was just gonna
okay. Thank you,
Good to
Chief.
know.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, it just, you're afraid to say it, weren't you?
We're gonna write that down.
Behind the front yard setback.
Okay.
I mean, if you're allowed a big, Facenda's law office sign, I mean, can I put a little open sign?
Advertising?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I have a sign that's
Yeah.
allowed 25 feet, and inside a foot in, I can put an open sign,
On your property.
Yeah.
On your property.
Not facing the flow of traffic.
No, exactly.
I think that's,
Somebody said
Right.
it's setback.
okay, so as long as it meets the current setback, yeah.
Yeah, I would, done it for distance, as long as it's in a window, it's very good reach setbacks.
Okay.
Most of them, my experience, are usually looking not facing traffic.
1 foot by 1 foot big enough? We good there?
How about novelty traffic lights? Are they
No.
gonna be allowed either?
We're
No.
not talking about them.
Rami, is 1 by 1 big enough for an open sign? I don't think so either.
The ones at Sam's are like 24 inches by 24 inches.
2 by 2?
25
square
makes more
feet.
sense, yeah.
This is almost 1 by 1.
Is that right?
But that
Yeah.
4 square feet.
Yeah.
2 by 2? I know, but it's gonna be bright red lit
I
up.
crashed because I couldn't tell if they were open, their sign was too small.
Okay.
Now we gotta get code enforcement a tape measure. No, it's just.
So actually, most of the buildings will be set at the setback anyway, if they got a variance, so I won't worry
Yeah,
about
they're
it.
always
Okay.
setback anyway, so.
It'll be at least 25, 30 feet from the edge of pavement.
Okay. Blinking lights.
That's gonna be a 4-hour conversation.
Let's take that off the table.
Done.
Takes
That was-
12 bites at apple.
Yeah. And then the last one being the flag signs. Those, the ones that are shaped like a sail or, the-
Or just
Sail
flags.
away.
I am not opposed to them as long as they're far enough back from the sidewalk.
Yeah, they're not, as long as they're not in disrepair, either. If they're all ripped up and
Right.
torn up, then that's different.
Properly
Yeah.
secured and with some sort of time limit.
We have a new church that has been flying all weekend long.
Hey,
I will tell you this,
Yeah,
that,
four of them.
my problem with the flag signs or banner signs is, and Councilman Perry pointed this out, was the being fastened into the ground. And as a matter of fact, I just saw one, yesterday, that was somehow got out of its holder in the ground and was laying on the ground. We had another situation when we had a windy time about a couple of years ago, a business on Tilton Road where it got out and it was onto Tilton Road. So I do have a concern with the banner signs in terms of the safety as well as just the condition of what it looks like. I mean, you may not consider something that's faded or ripped in your eyes as being, you know, not within the context of how it looks to you. You and I may feel that it looks terrible, and, you know, going down on Tilton Road or whatever it may be and seeing these raggedy signs or faded out sign, and the guy says, look, I can still see the word open, but what are you talking about, you know? I paid good money for it. I really have a problem with it. I mean, I'm telling you.
I think that if it gets in disrepair, it's more of a reflection on the business. And
You know, yeah, business.
for the most part, again, you're gonna have that same one-off that won't take his sign down.
Right, and so.
But the rest of the businesses,
Well, I understand, but you have one that says no, and one that says yes, and then you have that one that I told you on New Road that's been there for I don't know how long, for well over a year. And nobody wants to take ownership to it, and it's all ripped and torn. And it looks terrible, and especially it's been there for over a year, and the business no longer exists there. And we're not gonna go in, and it's my understanding, I mean, from the past,
the business
officials,
closed.
we're not gonna go in and take it because it's private property.
But if it's considered a safety risk, why don't we have the,
It's not, that's not a safety risk, that particular sign.
it's just
It's
ugly.
just all ripped up, and you don't, and there's nothing you could read on there that you can say, well, it's open or closed or whatever it may be.
Right.
Okay?
Could we?
Now, the safety sign aspect, you know, is another thing, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I just
Somebody owns
don't.
the property, right?
Right.
Could we
Somebody owns
send-
the property.
Somebody
Why don't we
owns
just
the
tell them?
property. Could we send them a letter and say?
Just like
It's
we
not
did
their
the other
property.
Somebody has to own the
Somebody
building.
owns-
Somebody may be renting the property, but it's not their property, that sign.
Somebody has to own the building.
Somebody owns, if the business is out of
Right,
business,
that's a
and
good
there's
point.
nobody in the
Or
business,
paying the
then the
tax.
property owner.
We
is
have
then
written,
responsible.
from my understanding, we have written letters to it, and nobody.
It's not hurting anybody, though. I mean, it's you're taking one example, and because of one bad example, you're trashing everything else that we want to do. That's how I feel.
I still think the landlord's responsible for this.
And I understand,
I
I
look
understand,
at-
I don't like stuff that looks bad, but like Tom said, that's a reflection on the business.
I understand what you're saying, okay? But I am looking at it in the whole picture that, yes, you may be saying that I'm thinking about one, but we get two, we get three. I deal with that, okay? You may not get the problems or the complaints and so forth, but I have to deal with that many times. And I have people complaining about the aesthetic value and so forth, how they feel it doesn't look good and everything, it looks ugly, and this is not what Northfield should look like, a banner city and so forth. I have to deal with it, okay? And it's my experience, whether it be one sign or 10 signs and so forth, all right? And I'm just bringing this all to a type of a closure, telling you of the many kinds of complaints that I get. And I understand what you're saying. You know, it's one bad apple shouldn't spoil for everyone, but I gotta deal with the whole, because I have to deal
You
with
can
many
blame it
people.
on us, Earl, we passed the code.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, it is-
council's responsibility.
Council makes the decision.
Yeah, well, you guys made the decision. I'm just telling you what I go through, people complain in my office. You may not get it, but you'd be amazed of the complaints that I get. I have one person who's complaining about the flooding today. And they said, I need to get it fixed. I need to get it fixed, the flooding. And it's a private property. Or someone says that their
All right.
somebody's dog is urinating against somebody at their fence.
I
Can
ask
we-
a question?
yes.
How are you regulating these flag signs?
The suggestion that was presented was banners and flag and feather signs should be permitted, state the nature of business, or open in location, or I guess, or open in locations less than 5 storefronts. What we just discussed was if it's in a state of disrepair, we should ask them to take it down.
What was the last one? Less than 5 storefronts?
We changed
Yeah.
that. Remember, you and I talked about that to make it 10.
10, okay.
How-
Oh, okay, if there's a place that has,
How close to the roadway?
I would say we would do it the same setbacks as we have with the,
How far?
whatever the current setback is for that location. I think we stick with that for
Well,
consistency.
How can you have on a setback on a mall there, and the setbacks are going to be in the asphalt? You're asking them now to put the banner into the asphalt in the parking lot?
Well, some business may not be able to do it.
Well, I understand that, but then what's to say we can't do it then?
They can, they're gonna have to,
I would say it has to be.
they would have to
outside
get a
of the-
stand.
I'm sorry, what?
It has to be outside of the right of way.
But we don't know where that is.
Private pro- well,
We
that's-
get asked that all the time. Where's the right of way?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and so for consistency and for location purposes, it has to be at least within the setback. So it would be by the front of their building, not out on the curb line.
There's a new business in town, and they have a flag. You know what they did? They put it in the back of a pickup truck bed and they park it out front,
Yeah, that's true.
and there's nothing we can do about it.
We can't do it, and
And
and we have businesses
Right.
who have also, signage.
Mhm.
And what they do is you can't keep it in one position, so they move it to the next parking space. And that's how they get around it.
Setbacks, curb lines, probably 20 feet is a good number, but you should do some research on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because typically.
I mean, we're worried about flags. You drive down Tilton Road, it's not very
The
appealing to
curb line to
businesses.
the right of way line, typically.
There's a lot of
Yeah, so
Disrepair.
as,
structures there.
I don't have problems if you're gonna say the setbacks of the property.
Are
I mean, we
they,
have-
are they effective then for the property owner?
if it's up near the
In the
building,
setbacks, so they're
Well, where's the
25
setback?
25 feet, 20 feet, whatever.
From
it
the
is.
property.
it's probably 25
So
feet.
they can't have it
So
along the roadway?
basically, why don't you consider it
In the grass?
Well, it
That's
depends
the
on where
right- yeah,
that,
That's right away.
how far that is from the curb line.
So it would have to be, yeah, so I
Right
think
now-
we need more,
Yeah, right now you're looking at curb line to the property line, or the right of way line is probably anywhere from 10 to 12 to 15 feet, depending on what road you're on. So you're gonna have to come up with a number and get you behind that.
all right, so we'll find out some more information for that one.
Okay.
And then we can make all the changes together. If we make another additional change with that one, we can do that
Okay.
as one change to the sign
And
ordinance.
is there a time constraint on that?
That's what my next question was.
Or are they just and are
Can
there
they keep-
hours? They can only fly them when they're open, or are they out all night? I
Well, how
haven't
long
seen
can they
these
keep them
things,
up?
so-
As long as they're
Forever?
in business.
Hmm?
As long as they're in business.
So we could literally have Tilton Road, wall-to-wall signs from one end to the other, Route 9, wall-to-wall flags from one
No,
room
not
to
Route
the other.
9. I'm talking about,
Flags.
I'm just talking about on Tilton Road, in the business district.
Well, what about New Road
Yeah.
That's the same.
and Shore Road?
They're the same?
Their business
Well,
is down
just
there.
I guess just R1 you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, just
RC.
business district, RC, yeah.
And how many are you allowing?
One per business?
One sign, one banner, one for business?
Yeah, why not?
And they can keep them up forever?
So,
Or just daily.
I mean,
I
we
think
could
they-
require that they take them in at night.
I think you'd flag them, fly them during the day, I would.
During open
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, we could do that.
How's that enforced? Code enforcement
Yeah.
doesn't work at
Boy,
night.
that would be a
Yeah.
enforcement nightmare.
I know.
You'd be running around like a chicken with a head
And I will tell you that parts of Tilton Road, I believe, are in the NB district. It's not just RC.
Yeah,
Tilton Road is, there's a lot of businesses that
We visited.
the right of ways have been
Doesn't-
widened. County takes right away when they do site plans, typically. So a lot of those widenings could be 35 or 40 feet from the center line of the road. The ultimate right of way width is like 90 feet. So it's 45 feet from center line, probably 15 or 20 from curb line.
Right.
So you gotta be mindful of that.
Yeah, I just wonder how effective they'll be at the setback line. And if private's fine where they might want it out, you know, on the sidewalk or the curb share, but
How do other cities do it that way then?
I
They
don't know.
don't.
Oh, yeah, they do. You
Linwood
don't, you don't drive, oh, yeah, Linwood does. You ever go to,
Cornerstone.
yeah, not Cornerstone. Yeah, Cornerstone has them.
The
The one where
exchange.
Cornerstone has banners right now?
they have flags, sure they do. So does the one where that Pizza Tega is, they have.
Yeah,
they
did you
have
see that one, how that was real ripped up?
Oh, there's a new one now.
There's a new one.
All right, we're gonna look into this more.
We're gonna look into this more.
Jeez.
I don't know how the other towns do it, so their ordinance must be different than ours,
I'll have to look at that.
or they don't,
Take a look
or
at
they
it.
don't have code enforcement.
Hmm?
Okay,
Right, or they're not enforcing it. They're just letting it go.
Or town has more businesses.
all right then,
That's how this was written.
thank you. Moving on, do we have anything with any new grants? I think we were, you'd finished one up,
I'm working on it, here in November.
okay.
Are they coming up, Ronnie, with another, the grant for the bike path and passenger?
That's what I'm working on.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you, thank you.
Okay, the joint court, the proposal for prosecutor services. Do we have anything from there other than that?
I sent that email to you, Tom, and to Brian, and to Mary.
I think they're, aren't they waiting to get
We're
more
waiting to get
information
data
from,
on that. Well,
Yeah, so-
some other things that Councilman Bucci brought up,
Okay,
and also on the prosecutor thing.
Chris, you sent out
And
an
on the
email
meeting
with
that I was
figures.
supposed to have.
You sent out an email with the figures that they were.
Right.
proposing.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, I sent an email to everybody, to speak with Bill Reynolds.
Like 402,000 a year?
I'm sorry?
Was it around 402,000?
Yeah, right now, and I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but according to Bill, the current prosecutorial budget was about 350. His proposal was for 4025, for
Which would be
52.5.
an increase of 54,000.
52.5.
And my meeting was
Shared by how many
canceled.
towns?
We're up to what, 11 or 13?
So shared by 54 by 13.
But I think it's based, it's not divided by 13, I think it's based upon caseload is
Caseload,
the
yeah.
allocation.
yeah, that's how they, yeah.
My concern is that the way this expense is going, not that I'm not in favor of it, but it seems like, we were break even. Now it seems like, and we're gonna be owing money.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that was the concern when we first
Mhm.
were looking at it, is that we were fluctuating between break even and costing us a little bit.
When
It is-
we were having court in other towns, were we break even?
You mean with Egg Harbor
Or
Township?
Linwood, were we break even?
No, no, this is still, this will be a little bit more,
More than that?
yeah, because they're using that as our baseline, is what our last few years was. But it is less than what it was when we had it as the administrator.
And I don't know what's gonna happen next year with the county sheriff's office, because, that was a last minute deal.
Mhm.
And I don't know what's gonna happen next year, if it's gonna increase or.
Mayor, have any of the other budgetary components of the court increased or decreased to your
I
knowledge?
sent that in as one of my questions, and that's still being worked on as far as being presented to me whenever our next meeting. That was something that I wanted.
And then,
Did they give you
the
a
next,
date for the next governance meeting?
They haven't given
They
me a
haven't
date.
sent you a date?
No, they haven't.
okay, so nothing more to,
No, sir.
So their proposal was for one chief prosecutor, one AP, and 3 agents, is that correct? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One chief prosecutor, 117.5, 3 assistant prosecutors at
three.
60 each, and 3 support staff at
Support staff.
105.
Is this because the deed increased, basically?
Yeah. That's
I
one
think
part
it's
of it.
because.
They wanna take it over.
It's
the
not
workload.
Can't get the work done?
Right, okay.
And I think the bigger problem may be just ordinary staff. Put it this way, if, careful. I prosecuted an Absecon, and I made double what they were offering per session in the county in one session. So it was, for me, I took 10 seconds to look at it, I'm like, no, it's not worth it, and I have to think most other people were the
Doing
same
the
way.
same.
At least the professionals, public defenders, prosecutors.
So this would all be actual Lyon County prosecutor's staff,
Yes.
the three
Yeah, my,
APs and the one chief.
yeah, I think probably the one prosecutor that's there now may be sucked into the county. And he's a good guy, Jim. Jim does a good job. I think he's just
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he's only one of 3 prosecutors. So I don't know who he pulls up. I'm just surmising really where the.
Chief, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you guys still having issues setting bail and stuff like that, getting hold of people?
Really don't go for bail.
Yeah. Trying to get somebody on the phone?
I haven't called over there since that meeting.
And that was, Councilman, that was one of my questions that I was asking.
Yes, I mean, I haven't had any experience to speak of, since then, so I haven't really called out there.
So I know from, hearing from other departments, that's the issue they're having. I'm just thinking that if the Lyon County Prosecutor's Office wants to take this over, and it's not gonna be that huge of an impact to the towns, collectively, it's probably worth looking into a little bit more.
Well, yeah, as Chris has said, it's gonna be the entire staffing. It's,
Yeah, I think you need to keep your eye on the ball of other raises and other budgetary increases over what the county
Yeah.
said it was originally, and then the second time, third time, and
until they get, I guess, through the hurdles of starting a new joint system. Maybe then it comes back down after but things don't typically go that way.
That's true.
Once they
Well,
get.
the other hope is attracting larger municipalities into the system as well, getting them into the court.
That would help.
And
That's the
hoping
hope.
that reduces the cost, you share the costs, bringing more larger municipalities in.
Right.
So, I mean, I know that's what they're hoping to attract some of the,
did it though? I mean, did they
Municipal-
pull in a big town right at the end and it really didn't help us? I don't remember.
I don't know about,
Just Corbin.
it's just Corbin City, so
They have EHC,
just,
Yeah, it was
and
about
that's
town.
probably one of the busiest courts in the county, with the exception of
Oh,
Lyon City.
EHC,
They
yes,
pulled in the
absolutely.
HJ the last minute?
no, they were in
have
from the
been.
beginning.
What I'm saying is, that's probably the second busiest court in the county, next to Lyon City.
It was Hamilton Township. That was,
Hamilton
because
was
they
the
were
last
talking,
one,
because Hamilton was the one they pulled in at the last minute. They were going to,
Pure politics there.
because they were deciding whether or not they were gonna do
The joint court.
do a joint court on their own with other towns. And so then when they went in, it helped a little bit, but since the way that they do the calculation of the costs based on caseload, for example, Northfield had a lower cost per case prior to going into this, so once we're in that big pool, the cost per case is not lower than what we were already experiencing. But it is helping towns like, I know when Hamilton Township and Egg Harbor Township were in there, their cost per caseload went, at least on the projections, went down dramatically.
Well, part of that is because we didn't have our own court. We were
Sure.
under Linwood's
Yeah.
umbrella, so that's why we didn't have that
So,
impact.
yeah, so that said, as we mentioned earlier, ours is still,
Right,
with these increases, will still be lower than when we had our own.
correct. And we don't have the
And when
legacy
we hosted
costs.
Linwood as well. Any more on that? Any more new topics? Okay, I'll ask everyone to please refer to the regular meeting agenda. Meeting minutes, Councilman Notaro, Councilwoman Bucci. Resolution 171, Councilwoman Bucci, Councilman Smith. The resolutions 172 to 179. Are there any items that anyone would like removed from the consent agenda?
176?
What was that one?
174.
Okay. So consent agenda will be 172 through 179, excluding 174 and 176. Councilman Smith, Councilman DeWeese. And then the other two, 174 and 176, Councilman Smith and Councilman DeWeese as well. Ordinance 10,
Which page? Oh, I'm sorry.
Ordinance 10, Councilman DeWeese and Councilman Utz. Ordinance 11, Councilman Utz and Councilman Leeds. Payment of the bills, Councilman Leeds, Councilman Notaro, and meeting notices, Councilwoman Lucci. Okay, with that, we will open the work session to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter may do so at this time. We ask that you state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
No, good.
Yeah, just- Good.
Excuse me for my attire, work late. I'm a Title 7 Fairbanks, I knocked my house down and put a new house on, a modular home, and I have no.
Chris, that's the public hearing.
Is this the public hearing? This is at 7 o'clock.
Oh, is it 7? Just wait.
Yeah, this is the road opening.
Okay, the hardship?
Okay.
Anyone in Zoom wishing to speak, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, she's on Zoom.
Thank you and welcome.
No one in Zoom, sir?
Okay. With that, the public session is now closed.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Yes, we have one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, let's just stay
Yeah, let's
here.
roll.
Lazy.
Let's roll.
Lazy.
We're gonna just go up there from now on after this. This is too,
Too close?
Yes.
This is.
I need
close.
room.
Is everyone's?
I'll hold your
I
hand if
feel-
you want, but
I feel,
You can stay here.
let me know when you're ready for the,
first you want me to do the wiggle, and now you want me to.
Well, you wouldn't, so.
I'm good, Tom.
you're good? Okay. All right, we'll start the regular meeting.
Good evening. This is the regular session for Northfield City Council, September 6th of 2022. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 8th of this year. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please, rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask everyone to be seated because I just have a statement to read. As we all know, this city experienced a tragedy as well as the family of Jonathan Skull, one of our police officers. So I would like to take a moment just to reflect on this. Law enforcement is a unique endeavor. Some would say it is a profession, while most involved would say it's a calling. I would argue that there are a few undertakings so noble as the protection of our community. It is defined by service and attracts those who truly believe that they can make a difference. There are those who question why anyone would ever go into the field of law enforcement. For Jonathan, it was a lifelong dream. And for those men and women involved, they could not imagine ever doing anything else. There are many who entered into this profession and served with distinction and honor, willing to serve and protect, just as Jonathan did. Now, many of us came to that turnout for the viewing, which was absolutely unbelievable, with the many organizations and agencies and public and families and friends and families of Jonathan Skull that served as a tribute to Jonathan's service to our community, but an acknowledgement of the amazing individual he was. It is indeed a testament to the impact that he had on his family, friends, and community, as well as his fellow officers. Jonathan defined all that is good within our community. He strived to keep our city safe, but also gave back in many different ways. To his family and friends, there are no words capable of providing sufficient comfort. All that we can do is pledge our underlying support and promise to be one by his side and their side, his family, from this moment forward. For those of us who knew Jonathan, our pain is still raw. And times it seems seemingly unbearable. And we say to ourselves, if we could just have one more word or minute to say goodbye, to let them know how much he had promised and had an impact on our lives. So on behalf of this city and behalf of City Council, we extend our prayers and hopefully comfort to the family and all those that were affected by the loss of such a wonderful young man who indeed had a promising career for this city. So I thank him again, and again I ask for everyone to keep him in our prayers for what he has done and dedicated to our lives and to our community. Thank you.
Well said, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Wow.
Roll call. Mrs. Bucci?
Here.
Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here,
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
Mr. President.
thank you. Approval of minutes.
I'd like to make a motion for the reading and approval of the minutes of August 16th of 2022. They've been distributed to council and are on file in the clerk's office.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh. Do you have a report, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Again, I want to personally extend my condolences to the family of Nuttall and Jonathan Skull. It's certainly indeed a situation which we face every year, that we lose great and wonderful people that have helped our communities. I also want to thank all the agencies and individuals for their support that they gave for Jonathan Skull in this past weekend. Again, I would like to bring update that as of August, or as of this date, we've only had, or I've only received, the chief and I, only one application for the chief's position. The closing is September the 30th. I will obviously report to council in August, or excuse me, next month, once we have the final numbers, if there are any more numbers, and I may have to make a recommendation. We'll see what happens. As you know, on tonight's agenda, it's already been mentioned that Lieutenant Dettinger has tendered his retirement as of November the 1st. Lieutenant Dettinger is the only lieutenant that we have in our department, and I am concerned, as I will just state in the fact that we will be losing Lieutenant Dettinger November the 1st. We will be losing Chief Newman December the 31st. We anticipate that if there is internal promotions, that we will need to replace Lieutenant Dettinger, which is obviously an administrative position. We will need to replace Chief Newman, who is also an administrator position. I did tell this council, I'm not pointing fingers, but my concern several years ago was trying to get within our department individuals with administrative experience. And so I'm going to make a suggestion that, and I haven't really discussed this with Chief, but if and when Lieutenant Dettinger retires, that we have to appoint an acting, upon his recommendation, an acting lieutenant to take that position so we can get some administration in there, because we'll have just Captain Steineke and Chief Newman. And also that will leave several openings as a patrolman level with Jonathan Skull, and then assuming that a sergeant, which would be eligible for promotion, would be moving up. So that's just giving you a very outlook as far as where we're moving this year and at the beginning of next year in January. In in Chief Newman's August report for the police department, there were 311 calls responded to. Motor vehicle, there was 197. Property checks, 731, which has always been consistently high, which indicates that our residents are utilizing that service. Total arrests by officers, 13. Drug arrests by 1. And total citations, 137. And DWI citations, there were 2. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Captain Steineke will have his annual meeting with the crossing guards to bring them up to date to any policies or changes. And also there will be the annual swearing in of the crossing guards, and I'm going to provide some refreshments, but anyone who would like to come and, just introduce themselves, you're more than welcome, I'm sure, but I know, it's a meeting for them. I want to remind everyone that this Sunday at 1 o'clock, there will be a observance of the 9/11 out here by the monument that was dedicated in memory of the 9/11 event, and all is invited this Sunday, that afternoon. I also want to remind the residents and any businesses or individuals who wish to participate in this year's trunk or treat, which will be October, is it the 6th or 8th? Mary?
8th.
The 8th. We're doing a little bit earlier, but if you are interested, we do have applications online. I want to remind those individuals who want to participate that there is a policy for insurance coverage that indemnifies the city, so they need to get that in line. October is not too far off. And tonight I will be drawing my annual recycle bin giveaway. I give 2 every summer, and so I'm giving, we're going to announce the one for August later on during the council meeting. So I believe that's all, unless any council members have any questions for me. Okay, thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for the street opening hardship.
I am here for 507 Fairbanks. When I purchased the place, William Luciano, 507 Fairbanks Avenue in Northfield. I purchased the property approximately 16 years ago. I was renting it out, and my wife and I decided to downsize, so we knocked the house down, put a module on it. And I put an application in November to get gas, and the gas company got back to me and told me they got turned down because you had guys having a torium on the road because it was just asphalt. And I had oil heat there. And so what I did is I put into wrote a letter to tell you guys that, I needed gas or whatever, and it was a hardship letter, and it was turned down again, and that's the reason why I'm here. The reason why want to get gas is because it's efficient, it's green, naturally, and where oil is not natural, it's just, smells, it can leak, damage things, and there's no other, other suggestion that I have to go with. So I'm here to ask you guys if I can get gas, and I was told I can ask you guys to do it, put a bond up, and make sure they do the asphalt properly. If not, then you guys will be using my money to fix it.
Yeah.
And believe me, I don't want a hole in front of my house either. I mean, it's cost me over $200,000 at home, and I don't want an eyesore of oil tanker, propane out there, so I'm pleading with you guys to see if I can get gas.
Propane or oil,
What's that?
propane or oil would be the alternative?
Yeah.
Well, there's electric heat pumps now that are fairly efficient, don't require any
Is it-
fuel.
What will you be running off of the gas if you do get?
I have a tankless hot water heater that just got installed, my stove, and my heat. That's it.
And you purchased your appliances already, your
Yes.
gas appliances?
Yeah, I had it ordered appliances about 6 months ago, and I still didn't get my refrigerator yet. So it's on back order. So this thing was very hard to get. And the stove just showed up.
And you didn't know about the moratorium
No, I did
6
not.
months ago?
I did not, sir.
Is the gas company able to tap off of the lines that are already,
I'm not sure, I didn't.
that have already come from under the street, so that we,
Well, I
yeah.
know, my next door neighbor has gas, both next door neighbors have gas. So I'm thinking that it's pretty close to the curb.
Well, yeah, it would run right,
They have to tap into the main. The main was put in, but he didn't need a connection because he didn't need it. So they bypassed this, and now he needs to put the connection in, so they need to go up the road to get to the main.
they can't do it.
I don't think they do it that way. I don't-
No.
Can I ask, and this is no discredit to you, but was there any reason why you didn't look into the city or ask the city first before thinking that you were going to try to get a gas line in?
No, I didn't even think that, there was a Victorian one or nothing. I didn't know how long the street was paved.
Yeah,
So,
just,
and I
it's
didn't
just
get
brand,
any
it's
letters.
brand new.
Yeah, and I didn't get any letters.
Right, yeah.
If I got letters, I would have said, hey, listen, can I get gas? I'm gonna get gas because I'm gonna be knocking the house down. And the house was a disaster. And it was,
Yeah.
Rami, what's the moratorium's what, 5 years, and how old is it?
5 years from last year, from December. But we ran into this situation in the past with the gas company, and they were able to tap into the next door service,
Okay.
and they ran it along the curb. The road just got paved, and I'm having a hard time just opening the road, and the bond's gonna be $10,000 you have to put up. If it doesn't get done to our satisfaction, that money's gonna be used to fix it. But the issue is, the road just got paved, and it's difficult to just open it after, it hasn't been a year yet for the road being paved.
So you said you were notified in November, you went to the planning board last year?
I notified the gas company that I had put an application in and all that stuff, and they got back to me, I guess around February, and told me that they put in.
City said no.
The city said no.
Actually, they applied with the permit. Before I processed the permit, I contacted them, I said, it's under moratorium. They said, send it back. So we don't take their money and just deny it. We just, I said, there's a moratorium on the street, what do you want to do? They said, send the permit back. Then they applied again.
Hardship, yeah.
Yeah, but I think they can do it from one of the services. They've done it along Broad.
On Broad Street?
Yeah.
How does he get that done?
When were you told that you couldn't?
How does he get that done?
open the road? What was the date? Do you know?
About 2 months ago.
2 months ago?
Month and a half ago.
Rami, how could he get that done where it goes to the neighbor?
Say, I'm not gonna get the service, they will figure out a way. They just did the same thing for the new building on, the new school, the daycare.
On Route
They
9?
wanted to open, Ridgewood, I said, we just pay, we can't do that. So they found a way and they do it.
And how's that work though? If they tap in there, how they get it to the house?
They just run it along.
Well, the meter's on your house.
To the
Yeah, the
T?
meter,
They go along the curb line?
Along the curb line?
Yeah.
On the street side or
No, on the sidewalks.
on the sidewalk, because it's a brand new sidewalk?
But
It's
they're
less than,
not-
it's
Yeah,
less than the whole street.
sidewalk Or street.
They go on,
I just paid $26,000 for concrete.
They can run it, I mean, they don't have to break the sidewalk, but they have to break a portion of the sidewalk to run it on, but that's it. So contact and say, I don't know what council wants to do, but,
Well-
I think I'm having a hard time having this road that open, just that big.
I mean, if it can be done, if it can be
But if
done
the
without
road's
tearing the
gonna be-
road.
If the road to be returned to whole,
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this in the past.
Right, I mean, the only thing is we're gonna have seams in it, but it's gonna be 45 feet either way.
It's not like there's,
The bond will be about 9,000, I just ran the numbers, about 9,000.
it's not like there's a lot of bus traffic and heavy trucks going, up and down the road. It's basically just, residents.
But your concern is that this is a new road that's been recently paved, and again, I'll be the devil's advocate, and I'm not saying anything against you, but then this sets precedence that if somebody else wants to do it, we may have multiple.
We have done in the past.
multiple requests that many?
We've
On a
had
new
many
paved road that's
times.
less than a year old?
It doesn't matter if it's a year, as long as it's within a 5-year moratorium, it doesn't matter if it's a year or 2 years, it's still ours.
Wouldn't it make sense if, you find out, I heard there's only like 3 or 4 people that do not have gas on that road. Wouldn't it make sense just to call the gas company and tell them to put a gas line to the curb? So that when you guys did pave it, we wouldn't have this problem.
We don't get involved with the gas company, we don't tell them what to do, I mean, that's.
Not telling them what to do, I'm just saying.
Well,
if you see-
we wouldn't know.
If you see 80%
That's the
of the people on
property
that
owner.
road having gas,
Well, yeah, I understand, yeah, I mean, we don't know who has what service.
If you want to reach out to the gas company, see if there's any alternative, and then come back.
That's what I
to
think.
us, but-
But before we make a decision, I think you need to contact the gas company.
Do you have examples of where this happened? Maybe we could
Broad Street.
give him the information that,
They did it by Broad and Davis. They had the same situation, and they just tapped into somebody else's service, and they brought their, that was 2 years ago.
And the new daycare, right? You just said it?
The daycare, I don't know how they did it, but they did. They did not tap into Route 9, they did not tap into Ridgewood, now they have gas.
And the travel company.
Is
right,
the
that
line-
you asked before? The travel agency was there before the house?
is the line coming from the main to the
To the house.
property
It's a service.
bigger than the,
No, it's a small line. It's probably
small
like
line.
3/4 inch, but
Yeah,
it's big enough, I mean, the house.
it's the high capacity
I
line.
don't know if they could.
1,200 square feet.
Yeah, the houses are not that big, I mean, you get some of these big homes that's like
Oh, you
5,000
want to take
square
a
feet, it's the same service. Those homes are the size of the same house.
Before we make a decision, I just want to summarize for the record so it's clear.
Yes.
Mr. Luciano, we have everything that you submitted. Is there anything else that you want to tell council in support of your hardship request?
Well, the only alternative I have is to try to send everything back. I got $15,000 worth of appliances in the house, except for the refrigerator.
All right.
Of course, and
At the recommendation, I think of everybody, do you want to request that this matter be, I guess, postponed until next meeting so that you can look into that other
when
option?
is the next meeting?
2 weeks?
Yeah.
September 20th.
I was hoping to be in the house, but I guess I'm gonna have to adjourn.
You don't have to do anything. You can,
No.
you can ask us to, you can ask the council to make a decision tonight based upon what you've presented. I don't know which way that's going to go. You're in charge of your application. We're not telling you what to do. We're not suggesting what to do.
It's like a gamble here. I don't know.
Which box you want to?
I just have,
Listen,
Before
you
we-
can
a
try
question for
it,
Ronnie
you can
first.
put it down,
Before we get
you
to
gotta
your
take all your
gamble.
appliances and tell a plumber to take all the stuff out of there and.
Before we get to your gamble, Rami, can you explain the restoration requirements to Mr. Luciano and the potential cost of that?
Yeah, basically what you gotta do is wherever you open, you gotta go 45 feet either way, each way, full width restoration. So basically, you're gonna restore about almost 3,000 square feet
Of asphalt.
of asphalt.
Of asphalt.
When you look at that number, it would cost, if the municipality is gonna do it, it's gonna cost us $10,000.
Doesn't the gas company
You know,
repair it?
They're gonna make you pay for it. We just ran into the same situation. The
Don't-
gas company would say, that's, they're not gonna pay for it.
They only repair the patch.
Repair the patch. Yeah, the patch is not good enough for you guys.
No, it's not gonna be good enough. As a
Well-
council, we have requirements. We allow,
has to meet the same as the,
we allow people to get hardship, but with certain restrictions. That you can't just have a patch and it looks great, but the requirements in our ordinance says you have to go 45 feet full width. So that's, the council can give you the waiver or the hardship, but you have to comply with the rules, with the requirements.
I think
So-
your cheaper option may be to call South Jersey Gas and say, I need another way to get gas to my property here.
They want your service.
And we're willing to give you the time to do that if that's what you prefer to do. But again, it's your application.
and when they do the restoration, I mean, have we had issues? What do they hold up as compared to the,
If we inspect it properly, we have to tag the steam and they have to do the proper job. It'll work out, but
okay,
we have to give it time to settle also. We can't just do it within 60 days. We have to allow it at least 90 to 120 days for settlement. Then they will pay with it to work out.
just remind us, he's saying it would cost him $10,000 just for that?
Just a bond.
It would cost us $10,000
Plus the bond.
as a municipality, because the bond is to, if he doesn't do the work to our satisfaction, we need to have enough money for the municipality to do the work.
Okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
now
the bond is for $9,000, but it doesn't cost him $9,000.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
I thought that's what Ronnie had said.
Money costs
No, the
us
gas
$6,000.
company repairs it, correct?
What is,
We're patching.
from your experience, what is the cost of something like that?
If it's privately done, probably $7,500.
Okay.
But I can assure the gas company won't pay for it, part of their service, they're gonna make you pay for it. And we run this.
Well, they do the patch.
No, I'm gonna say you're responsible for the patch, yeah.
They would do the small opening
Still gotta be
patch,
done.
okay?
Yes.
But that's not acceptable to the city standard, so the other patch, they would.
45 feet each way.
Yeah, they will do it.
So you have to cut, they have to cut out the 45.
Mill and pay,
Mill
they
it.
have to mill 2 inches and repave the whole thing. And this is standard for every municipality, even the county, anywhere you go, where you have brand new streets or under moratorium and you need to open it, that's what it is.
So if I did this a year and a half ago, we wouldn't have this conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you would never know that.
No.
Yeah, it's,
So your call. No, I'm trying to, make it easy for everybody.
Well, what I'll do is I'll adjourn, I guess, for 2 weeks. And my wife will be too happy, we're going in. But I'll adjourn it for 2 weeks and I'll call the gas, or email the gas company, because you can't really talk to them. Everything's on email. All right, thank you for hearing me, I appreciate
maybe
it.
you can get some examples of what they did at other places to help you out with that.
So Tom, just take a motion to table the application
Yeah.
at the request of the applicant for a
Okay.
period of 2 weeks. And then just, I don't know if you want to exchange information, maybe even Rami can talk and keep Rami up to speed or Mary up to speed as to whether, what's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry we couldn't get through this today, but,
Chris, I think I'll automatically have it on the agenda unless he calls me and tells me he doesn't need it.
okay.
Mr. Luciano, you will be on the agenda unless you call and tell us
All
otherwise.
right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank
Mike
you,
and-
Luciano. I have a motion to adjourn. Is there anybody else have,
No, we're just adjourned.
just adjourning this?
Public hearing.
Anybody else have any more input?
Yeah.
Adjourn this public session?
Motion.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
If there's
opposed?
anybody in the audience here for that particular application, it will be continued for a period of 2 weeks. If you want to come back then, you can certainly say whatever it is you need to say at that time.
Thank you.
But I just want to confirm that there's no further notice required for Mr. Luciano.
Right, yes.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you.
Good luck.
We're gonna table 171 then?
Yes. I have a motion for the consent agenda, the resolution. We did approval minutes first.
In the marriage report.
The engineer's report. I have too many notes now on my work session.
Just my report will be very brief. I prepared my report last week. Only a couple things. We spoke about the water company restoration, so that hopefully we'll be able to get that done. The other thing is the local road program. They started on the 9th. They started paving on the 2nd of September. They got done Cedar Bridge, Madison, Mazda, Jenny Lynn, West Oakrest, and West Virginia. We checked, everything looks good. Minor problems which they will be able to address with one of these items. They were supposed to start on Northfield Court today, but because of the weather, that got pushed, so most probably will start on Thursday and pave on Friday. We're not sure yet because they're not doing work tomorrow either because of the weather. Then they will do the second mobilization the week of the 19th. They'll be back out to finish the other streets. So basically, they're almost halfway through our paving program. Everything looks good, no issues, just minor issues with residents, which we'll address as a part of this office. And the last thing is, I received the flows for the month of August for the sewer flows.
Mhm.
We are still lower than, for the 4 years, we're lower by 5 million gallons on the lowest end, and the highest is about 9 million gallons, which is substantial saving. So we still see it coming down this year. I think will be more than 20% less than what we have on the lowest years.
That's awesome.
From the
Any
slip
reason
lining.
why?
From the slip lining.
Slip lining. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The slip line made it.
What's we're guessing? It's the only thing we changed, right?
Planning, I think we need to, for the future, have a program that every year we set some money aside for slip lining and just do it section by section. You don't have to spend a huge amount of money, just little amount we set aside for every year, like a program that I think will help the city maintain the sewer line in a good condition.
What percentage did we do on that?
For this month, it went from 27,000 to 22,000, so more than 22% reduction. From on the lowest year.
No, how much, I'm saying, I'm sorry, how much slip lining did we do? We didn't,
1,000 feet.
1 out of 40, 1 mile out of 40 mile, basically, 2.5%. But you don't have to slip line the deep, the shallow.
No, I'm just-
Deepest parts, yeah.
that's a big change for the,
Per mile.
Most bang for the buck there, but it should be
It
ongoing.
must
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
we
pretty
did-
bad.
Yeah.
The area we slip line really was
You-
in bad shape.
yeah.
Like some area was cracked
Yeah.
and the water, the
Groundwater
groundwater
was
was coming
coming
in
in.
like nonstop.
I still think that calculation process was a little squirrely.
Over there? Could be.
If we should have used it, that was slip lining,
The
they-
ins
they-
and the outs.
is, all right, so we already gave, our rates are already set for,
No, we get credit.
we'll get the credit through, at the end of the year?
We get X amount of gallons a year, million of gallons. If we
That's
don't-
just based on, we're just paying based on the budget right now. Okay.
I have a question for Rami. Northwood Court,
Yes,
how we make out with the concrete out there?
we did okay. I mean,
Alright.
we changed a few sections. I think we'll be over budget by like 7,000 to 8,000.
Okay.
We try to minimize what we can do. They finished the concrete work, so it'll be paid. And we try to keep as many sections as we could.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rami? Thank you. Okay. Oh, public session. At this time, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic may do so at this time. We ask that you please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
Anyone in Zoom wishing to speak, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you. No one in Zoom?
Okay. Seeing no one, the public session is now closed. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to adopt resolutions 172 2022, 173, 175, and 177 through 179 2022 by consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wanting anything else pulled or discussion
That's on the consent agenda or the other?
for the consent agenda, just on any of those? The only thing I'll say is just to congratulate our Lieutenant Dettinger, since that's part of the consent agenda,
And thanks to the service.
and thank him for all his many years and all that he's done. And unfortunately, I'm not under better circumstances with what's going on right now. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt the consent agenda for resolutions 172, 173, 175, and 177 through 179 2022.
Second?
Roll call.
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
I have a motion for resolution 174-2022.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 174 2022.
Second?
Discussion?
I just had a question.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to report. So when we replace somebody, do we ever take into consideration whether we replace them with a part-time person as opposed to a full-time?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in certain positions, yes.
Okay.
They can be part-time. This one is a full-time.
Do we ever make a
Need.
full-time a part-time?
I'm sorry.
Do we ever make a full-time position a part-time? I'm just asking
Yeah.
questions because.
Yeah, I mean, we have, I mean, we,
CFO.
CFO was part-time, business administrator is part-time. We're not a designated person.
Okay.
It's a dual role.
Construction official.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the construction officials.
all switched to part-time.
So what you're saying is it's a bigger need.
This is
bigger need.
definitely the need for a full-time for this position, is my question, I guess.
For tax collector, yes,
Okay,
because that's
that's all.
how we pay all the bills.
Okay. I just want to ask, because I just want to ask.
And in this respect, having a good tax collector, as we, the one that has just resigned, Michelle, did a job much better than the prior one as far as the collection numbers,
Yeah, she
as
did
far
a
as the
great job.
amount that was collected versus, uncollected taxes. So, and she put a lot of things in place that should help us going forward. And she worked we did do part-time.
For a little bit.
A little bit. She volunteered because it was right after the tax bills went out.
Right.
And she wanted to make sure things kept going smoothly for us. It was-
Good.
Without naming any names, are we hiring somebody that has the equal experience?
Yes,
She has more.
If not exceeded.
yes.
So
From
to
another-
be able to just jump right in and go?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, absolutely. And the salary is almost exactly what the previous one was making, so we're lucky to find somebody that quickly.
Yeah, that's why I was just making sure that somebody that has had municipal
Yes,
experience working for a government.
Yes, currently at another town,
Good.
Little Lake Harbor. Okay, any other discussion for 174, the tax collector? Roll call.
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of Resolution 174, 2022.
Resolution 176, do I have a
Make
motion?
a motion to adopt resolution 176-2022.
Second,
Discussion.
that would be me. Just so we're clear, the sign is great. I like the sign. I believe that Atlantic City Country Club should have gotten a sign as well. But I don't like the way it looks, that we're putting a fairly large LED sign out front when we denied Atlantic City Country Club the same. And people, they're gonna say the city did that. The city, look what the city did, and look what the city did. They count us as one. We're one and the same with the
Yeah.
planning board. I like the sign. I spoke with the neighbors. I don't think the neighbors have a problem with the sign. So I'm just going to, vote my own, way on this, based on the planning board's decision. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Is it going to be any bigger than the one at the Baker Center? That's an LED, right?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is it going to be
How
any,
big's the sign, Ron?
the one at the,
By name,
that's a LED.
this is the LED portion.
The LED
Yeah,
portion.
that's
is
LED, right?
too, but,
Yeah, that's a nice sign. And it's
I
not
will say, I
bright
spoke
or-
with the neighbors, some of the neighbors, and they spoke to some of the neighbors, so you don't see anybody in here tonight
Right.
complaining about the sign. So if that gives you any inclination of,
Well, and
I actually like the sign, to tell you the truth.
And certainly
I
if
just
it-
don't like that we denied somebody else the right to do that, and here we are
The
throwing it out.
circumstances were different, but
I fully
you
understand,
can't,
that, but that's not
it's
the
hard to
perception.
bring the two in the same,
I know.
same conversation for
I-
me, so.
And the two, and this is a board that is gonna inform the residents, and that's, prime rib. I know the difference there as well, but LED is LED.
That sign would have came in handy today to warn the residents about the flooding.
Yeah.
I would just say
Absolutely.
that, I don't have any problems with it, but I think the one on Tilton and U Road would have been a nice place to put an LED sign.
Where's
to
that?
Inform the public. Maybe that's something that city council
Yeah,
may
it's-
want to consider in the
Yes.
In the future, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a horrible spot. You have to turn your head to even read it. You can only read it if you're coming south on Route 9 or flying by
parked at the
Tilton
light.
Road. The way that the signs, arranged, so I don't think that's a good place at all.
Well, I guess you can see it on two
That's not what
directions.
we're voting on now.
No.
Usually stuck at the light for a while anyway. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other comment on this?
As long as it's not
Resolution?
red.
They might think it's a stoplight.
It can be red, not yellow or green.
All right.
Information, David.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
No.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes,
Motion carries for the adoption of Resolution 176 of 2022.
thank you. Ordinance 10.
Is this adopted?
Second reading, yes. Final, yeah.
Make the motion to adopt ordinance 10, 2022, to be read by title only.
Second.
Ordinance 10 of 2022 is an ordinance amending Chapter 268 of the Code of the City of Northfield governing abandoned real property. This is the second reading. There will be a public hearing after which the matter will be considered for final adoption. Since introduction, the ordinance has been posted in full on the municipal website as well as in the lobby of City Hall. Any member of the public who asked for a copy of the ordinance would have been provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk. If it is approved this evening, it will be published a final time in the Press of Atlantic City on Saturday, September 10th.
Thank you. We will now open the public session for ordinance 10-2022 and ordinance 10-2022 alone. Anyone from public wishing to speak may do so at this time.
Anyone in Zoom wishing to comment on ordinance 10, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. None, sir?
Thank you. Seeing no one, the public session for ordinance 10 is now closed. Roll call. Or any discussion from council, I'm sorry.
I was a little surprised in the ordinance that if you meet any two of a list of requirements, then you're considered to be a delinquent property. One is no furniture in the house, and the other is no window treatments. Those are two separate things. So if you have a vacant home with no furniture and no window treatments, technically, you have to register. I know that's not the intent of the ordinance, and I think the
Right.
ordinance will go just fine. But I was surprised to see that lack of window treatment and furniture constituted a abandoned property.
Put a lawn chair in, so
Yeah,
they did all the work.
What if you didn't like
And it's not
window
legally
treatments
occupied,
or
Paul.
furniture?
What's it?
And you still live there?
What's that?
It's unoccupied.
has to be unoccupied also.
Unoccupied. Well, as you know, I just bought a home. It's in sort of bad shape, but it doesn't have furniture or window treatments.
But you're not-
It does have
you're not
electric
in
and sewer.
foreclosure, right?
No, not in foreclosure, and it's
This
certainly to maintain it
trigger is
long. It's
foreclosure.
just
It's filing
foreclosure.
of
Yeah,
foreclosure.
just for foreclosure.
Yeah.
I thought it was any abandoned property.
No,
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's Pleasantville's
Roll
ordinance.
that's better then. That's better then, so.
Put the lawn
yeah, as we-
chair
as
out
we-
there.
I'll let it do.
Okay. Any other? Thank you, Chris. Roll call.
Okay, you take it.
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of ordinance 10.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 11-2022?
Motion to introduce ordinance 11, 2022, to be read by title only.
Second.
Ordinance 11 of 2022 is amending Chapter 117 of the City of Northfield Municipal Code entitled Outdoor Burning. This is the introduction. There will be no public input. The ordinance will be published in the Press of Atlantic City on Saturday, September 10th, and it is presently posted in the lobby of City Hall as well as on the municipal website. Any member of the public who wants a copy of the ordinance can obtain one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk from this point up until the time of the public hearing. The matter will be taken up for a second reading. There will be a public hearing and final consideration on September 20th.
Thank you. Is there any comments of anyone on council?
Yes, Mr. President. On the limitation of size, some of these units are a little bigger than 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking we would up that size to 4 feet. And I don't know if this is something we'd have to table or we'd be able to.
Well, it's
make-
just introduction.
Maybe make
Can we
these
make?
changes.
Yeah, we can make
Okay.
changes in.
And then some people have fireplaces
outside, which
Yeah.
are much larger, and I don't know if that would be a similar device, but I guess you could
What
call
would
it a
the-
similar device, but maybe some type of stipulation for,
Yeah, I had on the fireplaces, the
The
size.
area of combustion really is what you're looking for.
Right, so
Not
two,
the entire
so the fire,
structure.
yeah, where you're burning stuff
Right.
can only be,
3 feet.
that's
Maybe if we-
that's how I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
That's how I interpret it, yes.
That's good, okay.
So 3 feet by 2 feet would be your,
Increasing that size to
Burning
maybe 4
area.
feet would, I think would be within reason.
increasing that to what?
4 feet would be within reason.
4 feet by 3 or 4 by 4?
Well, I don't think it, does it, oh yeah, 4 by 2, 4 by 3, I think would be an adequate number,
Why don't you just make a certain number of square feet? And then it could be,
or a certain number of square feet, which would be
Well,
12 square feet.
oh, I see, no, never, I'm sorry, yeah, it's 3 feet in diameter or 2 feet in height. So you're saying just change the 4 feet in height?
Or 12 square feet in total.
Anyone else? Any
No,
any
it's-
fireplace input? How about these setbacks?
I think
Yeah, I
10
know-
is sufficient,
10?
10. 15's a little much, puts you in the middle of your yard, it's pretty
I
much.
would want to talk to the fire
marshal?
department, but I think 10 should be,
Yeah, I
if
would-
they're adhering to all the other things and not,
mhm.
and you're burning seasoned wood, or gas.
Suppose your 10 feet is underneath your neighbor's canopy of trees hanging over you.
So
Well-
it specifically.
Well, right
says
now it's
not
telling
under
you
a canopy.
15, yeah, yeah, that's
You have
prohibited.
to be at least 10 feet from your structure.
Yeah, you have to be 10 feet from any structure, or, right now this is written with 15. Dave's saying cut it to 10,
Give a little allowance on that.
at least 10 feet from
Well,
any
it says not
structure.
limited to homes, garages, sheds, showers, but it doesn't include decks, so,
As I'm gonna address that next. So
okay.
we've got ground level only, so that would exclude a deck, right? A deck, which I kind of agree. I mean, you don't want to be burning a fire pit on a deck, but there
Well-
is chimeneas that people put on their decks as well. And there are those little, do we want to exclude that from
Well, that
someone's
is,
deck?
those are prohibited under 117.4E. Anything on a deck,
Okay,
Or
so
decks.
anything on a deck, so that's
no
prohibited.
burning
It
on your
says
deck.
underneath, though, it doesn't say on a deck.
117-4B.
For B. Oh, there you go.
So I
Ground
don't know
level.
if we want to allow that or not to, I mean, it doesn't.
Elevated landing, right.
I mean, that one I
Just
have,
going
that
by
one
what
I have
people do.
spoken, that one I have spoken to professional firefighters, and they,
It's not a good idea.
It's
No.
not
A
good
wooden
idea.
deck, no.
on a
absolutely
deck
a
is
good
not a
idea.
great idea to
Even
have
pressure
anything
treated,
burning.
It can burn.
So I would think that would be a good one not to,
If, what we could exempt is raised concrete patios,
as long as it's 10 feet away.
10 feet, and, because that wouldn't be ground level, okay?
Mhm.
And that would, if it's a concrete patio, why wouldn't you want your fire pit on your concrete patio? So that would,
We'd have to, yeah,
we'd have to put a stipulation in for that as well.
if it meets the other thing, if it meets the other things. I mean, if you have a raised concrete patio 10 feet away from your house?
Some people put them right up against their house.
Yeah, but you'd still have to be, it'd have to be big enough to be at least 10 feet away. The fire would have to be 10 feet away
Right,
from
exactly.
any structure.
Yeah,
A
there's
shed,
people-
a fence,
they've
anything.
built raised
Okay.
patios with, that are 30 feet, in, depending on your lot size and.
Non-combustible.
I mean, I can see a wood patio,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
a concrete patio is,
okay. Does anybody have anything else to add or any comment to Dave's suggestions. I agree with all three of those.
We just have to word it in some way that, it's the expert over here.
I can do it.
Mary, do you have any?
This just
Mary?
seems like a lot of changes, different than what I gave the fire department.
Uh-huh.
I spoke with Ben about some of these. I mean,
Okay, well,
we
let's-
can speak with him again about it,
Let's double check those with
Yeah.
them.
I'm thinking you redraft it and send it out again instead of introducing it tonight. That's just,
and then just table it.
Thank
if you
you.
I'm
don't,
okay with that.
Don't introduce
There's
it
no
today.
rush.
Don't introduce
Okay.
it.
Let's just take it off.
Perfect.
There's no rush for this.
Let's, can we
Yeah.
make those changes, then we'll draft it to the fire department.
In 117.3, we're not gonna regulate the width and the height, we're just gonna say 12 square feet of burning surface.
Yeah, I know, because that could be a little, we have to come up with something on that. Because that 12 square feet of burning surface is,
That's pretty
borderline
huge.
bonfire.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah,
That's like an Absecon fire.
yeah. It's a mainland parking lot fire right there. We don't want to do that. We'll have to come up with something.
Well,
I
right
don't
now,
mind the square foot gauge, whatever you guys decide on the numbers, up to you. I kind of like the square footage better than the diameter or height.
Make it
Um,
nine. Make it
six.
nine.
You're not having 50 people in a bonfire.
Yeah.
in the house, so
So, yeah, 3 by 3.
36 by 36.
Yeah, 3 by 3.
Well, that's 3 by
That's
3.
what I said,
That's
nine.
9 square feet.
That's what I said. nine.
It's all-
Nine.
I'm not good with numbers.
But 9 square
Let's
feet's
get
probably the
Back
right
to
number.
3 by 3.
9 square?
I think we can leave it to 3. I think I think,
That's 7 square.
Why don't we
Yeah.
just say 9 square feet?
Yeah, 9 square feet is good.
yeah.
That's 3 by 3.
Yeah,
So they could still get away with 2 by 4.
right. A burning area.
9 square feet of flame.
2 by,
Yeah. Okay, and that'll bring in the fireplaces.
Good recovery.
All right, 10 feet structure, we agreed on that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And a raised, non-combustible elevated surface is an acceptable home for a pit
Yes.
of any type.
There.
Mhm.
Easy enough.
Okay. Since we are not moving on,
so Chris, you'll send me that red line, I'll send it back out.
Of course.
I have a motion for payment of the bills.
I'd like to make the necessary motion to pay the bills in the amount of $3,768,631.08.
Bueller?
Second. Sorry about that.
that's right, it's a lot of money.
Any discussion, any questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
Okay. All right, meeting notices, and what we're doing, immediately following the meeting notices, we're going to have our drawing before we motion for adjournment.
The next city council meeting is September 20th, 2022. Work session starts at 6 PM, regular session immediately following.
Thank you.
And there's an economic development meeting tomorrow night, no, Thursday night, I don't know what night today is, at 7 PM in
The
council
8th?
chambers, yes.
What do you mean? Council chamber.
Okay. The winning of this month's recycle part is Melody Scalise at 5 Mazza Drive here in Northfield. And she says that, number one, helps keep our environment clean, also helps to keep waterways clean, and in a small way helps our neighborhood a little more beautiful in terms of why she thinks that recycling is good. Congratulations, Melody.
Congratulations, Melody. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
I still have to ask, first was,
Together for 20 minutes.
Sets up.
first was, I think, Paul, and second was Greg, or was it you, or? Okay. It was like a barbershop quartet,
Hey,
or,
Mayor, when is
Yeah.
the 9/11?
once again, I'm not good with numbers.
1 o'clock this
Okay.
Sunday.
1 o'clock.
Be there, thanks.